blowing, but don't let go, just stay in this moment.
Welcome, everybody. We're going to be having a very interesting conversation today.
That's what I like to do. I like to know about people and why they are the way they are.
Everyone is entitled to their own opinion based on your thoughts, your feelings, who you are, your life, and all that.
Isolation from people, loved ones, family. You really do feel like you've been removed from people. In a situation like it's been over the past couple of years, is not knowing what it will end up being.
So I just come in here into this room and I'm here to listen, and I'm here hopefully to learn, and I keep an open mind, and it's always interesting, these conversations, because they always stick with me, about what everyone has to say about things.
The thing that I find the most difficult and have found the most difficult since I've been a child is being able to deal with people who want me to make them more comfortable. I get picked on and I'm called a nigger, and I really don't like that. Well, yes, but were your actions, though, such as, and you know what I'm saying, and I say, well, no, I was walking down the hall and somebody yelled out to me, I'm the only one in the hall that's African American, and they yelled out nigger, and I say, well, no, I was just walking, minding my own business. But. So I guess one of the hardest things for me to deal with is that but, and that but is people want me to make them more comfortable with whatever aligns with them. And it's more today than any time in my life.
Hopefully, all around the planet, we're educating our young in order to achieve ultimate peace. Now, it seems like a radical idea when you first hear it, but we hope that's why we're educating our young, such that they can exist peacefully. Exactly. Come on in there, Lee. Comment.
That's exactly what I wanted to say. In teaching, I was teaching 14 and 15-year-olds, and that was a very high priority in my educating youngsters. How they discussed the groups that they were in, reason they were in their groups, how they had to be able to be accepting of others, helpful to others, discussing topics in a very civil manner, using facts, using research. We worked very hard on that. And yes, we learned the content also of the curriculum. Thank you. I truly believe it starts there.
And what has really sustained me throughout the years is actually our culture and our way of life, and how we look at death and how we look at separation and isolation. And if we can cling to those and look back to how our ancestors survived in the past and how they dealt with the loss and death, that seems to be something that comforts me and also comforts many of our people. And prayer is a big part of that. And, and understanding that not only as humans we grieve, but other animals grieve as well, and other life forms. Even plants grieve the loss of their plant members. You automatically think of whales and dolphins and elephants because they grieve as well. There are examples of that in the wild. And also the buffalo, who we looked at as part of our how we came to be. We are closely allied with the buffalo in our survival. And so the buffalo also, they grieve for one another, and you can see it. You can see the tears in the eyes of buffalo when they've lost, especially a mother has lost one of her children. So, I think of a whole range of things, but coping mechanisms is something that I think of, and we have to deal with it somehow. And I think our culture is what has sustained us in that grieving process.
I guess my first most shocking grief experience is when my younger brother was suddenly killed. And I'd be walking around the city where I lived, and he lived nearby at that time too. And I'd suddenly see someone up ahead of me, and I was sure it was him. From the back, it looked just like him. And then I'd have to again experience the fact that he was dead.
And I go more for the emotional payoff in the poem, trying to say something and trying to move readers either through humor or anger or through sorrow or through just making them sit and think about something for a while.
When you talk about how you've been influenced by history, I think it's important to realize how many of us who are alive and not of ancient age have been influenced by a history that's based on lies and propaganda, which is basically what that is. It's a propaganda that's trying to remove any guilt that you might have about the fact that there had been slavery in your state. It's designed to make you feel like it was okay that your ancestors were enslaved because they were actually better off than they had been in Africa, according to the text, and that they were safer there. There's no mention of the whips, but they're not being threatened by clubs and spears. And so there's a distortion there that omits the truth, but it also paints a picture that is disassociated from the reality.
And too often we concentrate too much on trying to build relationships. And I will say, I can't build a relationship with someone who hates me, right? In general, there might be like the one-off possibilities, but what I can do is fight against that legislation to ensure that our communities are not marginalized in an institutional level. And that's really the shift that we are trying to make.
I know the winds of change are blowing, but don't